Men Reforged, redefining masculinity. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the movement. JP, going to bring you the episode this evening. We are welcomed, I guess, remotely by Cam in Chattanooga.
Very welcome.
Because he's feeling awesome.
And we're awesome. Yeah, I'm just not allowed to be around people according to the government.
And we got a special guest with us, Don.
Yes.
In here, we're gonna talk a little bit about his story, some of his military background. I don't want to spoil too much on the front end. You guys know the fee. Like we've talked about before, man. Share this if you're getting something out of this and you're getting some good value. Don't be selfish. Share it with somebody else. Somebody else can get some wisdom and benefit from what we talk about. We don't charge any kind of monetary value from any of you. As always, you can go check us out. Follow us on any of our social media platforms: Facebook, Insta, whatever the other ones are that we have. They're all over the place. You can go check out our page, shepherdsof.men, and take a look at all that. If you like what you're hearing and you want to be a little bit more engaged and move forward and understand some of the principles and logic that goes behind becoming an influential man and some of the practical application to actually achieve that goal. You can go check out the Men Reforged program that we have in there. It's kind of a 6-month cycle that's actually going to walk you through step by step on all the ethos of an influential man and kind of break it down for you and what you need to do to develop those characteristics and master them. If not, just keep listening and keep sharing with everybody else, and very much appreciated for that. But without any further ado here, Cam, how you doing, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing awesome. It fucking sucks that I'm not there in the studio, but I know I'm there in spirit. And as I said, I got a little cough medicine to help things get better. So we're right as rain. On with the show.
Well, glad you made it either way. It's no doubt you always figure things out, man, and I appreciate that about you. I've always appreciated that about you. One way or the other, you're gonna make things happen. So.
Well, somehow I still managed to get one of my T-shirts up there to Don put on. I just appreciate you repping me. That really makes me feel like I'm there.
Well, I got a nightgown up here for him too. That would be a nightgown maybe for me and you. Got him a double X. I was like, man, I'm hoping that's not too big. And then he walked in. I was like, well, shit, that'll fit just fine. But yeah, Don, man, welcome. Glad you could be here. I know you've got a pretty cool story. And I don't want to take up too much time because I know your story is pretty impactful. We got a lot of former military that listen and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, is one of the crazy things when you look at the statistics on our listeners and stuff across the globe, we're about 65 to 70% men, and the rest are women. We have a lot of women that listen, and I don't know if it's single moms raising sons and want to know what they need to really instill in their kids, or what the reasonings for it is. I think there's a lot of different reasons for it. Maybe their husbands are lacking in a certain area and they want them to listen to it, or whatever it may be. But we do have a lot of former military. We got a lot of entrepreneurs and people that are trying to do some big things in their lives that listen, and I know that you kind of check a couple of those boxes. So if you don't mind, man, and share whatever you feel like sharing and some about your story and stuff like that. And I'd love to let our listeners hear it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And thank you, gentlemen, for having me. This is an honor. I love listening to you guys. It was great meeting Chris at Coach Bert's event, and bringing me out here. So, it's an honor. I'm looking forward to this and just sharing a little bit about me. So, I was born in Illinois, suburbs of Chicago. Grew up there, middle class life. Everything was, just normal life. I thought I was going to go to college, but that was not for me. I hated college. I hated school altogether.
Yeah.
I wasn't the best student. ADHD was probably already kicking in pretty heavily there, and I tried to be a class clown and just kind of, I was a jokester, and I never really applied myself fullest. Played, wrestled, football, track, did all the that you just kind of grew up doing. And everybody went to college, and I just, first of all, I didn't write my senior paper. and so I didn't pass that English class, and I didn't get to graduate with my class.
Oh.
So then I had to take summer school to graduate, and I was going to go to junior college, and it sucked. I hated it. I honestly hated it. And so I was just, my buddy came home spring break one time, or after the first semester, and he was like, Don, I hate school, man. Let's join the Marines, bro. Like, we were at
Seems like a good second option.
Yeah, we were at a bonfire just having some drink, and I was like, hell yeah, let's join the Marines, man. Let's go.
Right.
They had a buddy program back there. Like, we can go together and go to wherever,
Nice.
fight war, or, go to war. And at that point, I went to the recruiter with him, and I was like, sign me up. It was like, just ready to go in the Marines. And then I talked to my dad, and he's like, well, how about we get, if you really, I never thought you were going to really look into the service.
Yeah.
But if you want to, how about Air Force or Coast Guard? There's a lot more opportunities when you get out. It's a better life. You stay at maybe some 4-star hotels versus digging holes.
I had it's funny you say that, because I had the exact same conversation. When did you graduate high school? Or when did you get out of high school?
98.
98. Okay. All right. So I was out in 05. So it was right after 9/11.
Yeah.
Stuff, not right after, but very, very soon thereafter. And I was the same way. Me and a couple of my buddies were like, we're going into the Marines. I was already in good shape, athlete, stuff like that. Was training some guys to meet the requirements. And a buddy of mine's dad was like, listen, why don't you just at least consider the Air Force? Like, at least consider it, because you're going to be way better off. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of jokes about Chair Force, and all that stuff and everything. He said, but ultimately your quality of life is going to be better. And your career and things that you can do afterwards are going to be much better. There's going to be a lot more options and stuff. So it's funny you say that. I had the exact same conversation with a buddy of mine's dad.
Yeah, it was crazy. I went in to get away from school, and I ended up doing more school than I ever thought I would do. I ended up getting my undergrad in business, and then my master MBA in business finance. And I just did that while I was deployed overseas, just take classes here and there. Everything was remote a lot of times, so I just did what I could, because once I got in, I was like, I don't want to do this the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I went in as an aircraft mechanic, and I just didn't like manual labor, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I kind of was like, all right, I know there's something bigger and better out there for me, and but I ended up staying quite some time. So I ended up I was an aircraft mechanic for 12 years. A-10s, traveling all over. I mean, I started off in Tucson, Arizona as my first assignment. Great place.
That's a nice area.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was really. And then I went to South Korea. I was in South Korea for a year at Osan Air Base. Amazing assignment. I was young, and it was just to see a different culture and really understand, just get out there and see how other people are in the world, whether different religions, different, other beliefs.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But people are people, and as long as you're kind to them, they'll give you their shirt off their back.
They all have the same needs.
Everybody.
Yep.
Right?
For sure.
And so after Korea, I went back to Vegas, and I was in I went to Vegas, and I was in Vegas for 2 years. It was MQ-1s at the time. So is the Predator.
Oh, yeah.
So I was doing maintenance on Predators, and then I deployed all over with those. Deployed to Pakistan for 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, I bet. I've never heard anybody go, you know what? I loved Pakistan.
Oh,
It's so great.
That was the best
the
place.
meat is amazing.
Man, our tents flooded. I'll tell you a quick it was so funny, because I go to the gym every day. It's a little bit of walk, like maybe a quarter mile. But it's like rough roads and everything. And it monsooned, and everything was flooded. And as it was drying up, there's puddles, Well, I was coming back I was getting ready to go to the gym, and I am just walking, and I thought I was just gonna walk through this puddle. I thought it was like not deep puddle. Well, it was a fucking sinkhole. And I went waist deep, and I'm trying to save myself. And I was just like, son of a bitch. Like, I was so, I just sat there, and then I saw somebody else walking with their flashlight, and then they were laughing at me, and I was like, Oh, this just ruined my day right here. So
in the middle of the desert, stuck in a puddle.
I was like
What are the chances?
1 in the morning in a Pakistani sinkhole. And but I mean, it was great experiences. I mean, there we were sleeping on cots, and
Yeah.
we were actually hot bunking. So because all our tents got flooded, so they put us in these hardened aircraft shelters out there. And I mean, we'd set up like, I don't know, 30, 40 cots in this and then every 12 hours, swap out.
Yeah.
So it was pretty miserable.
But it smelled great in there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've been in a couple locker rooms. I've never been in one of those, but I've been in some locker rooms.
And then after that, I Vegas for 2 years right there. Then I get an assignment to Turkey. So 2 years in Turkey. Amazing assignment. Turkey is one of the most beautiful countries I've been to.
Really?
Yeah, it's just I mean, so green, and we were so close to the Mediterranean. And then what's really cool is just like, if you're really into religion, I mean, that's kind of where everything started.
Yeah.
And so if you're a history buff and all that, there's so many great places to see. I mean, you can see where these underground cities that were built where Christians ran from persecution in the mountainsides, and I mean,
it'd be cool to see.
Really cool.
It's one of the trips that I want to take a trip to Israel at some point to go over there and just kind of see, kind of some of the old, like, ancient stuff that they have over there, and kind of walk some of the spots from the Bible. My wife and I are doing a whole Bible from beginning to end right now for the year, 365 days of reading the Bible from the start to finish. And we're doing it together, as one of our things for 2022. But that was one of the things we were talking to our preacher about that, and he was like, "Man, if you get a chance, like, and you read the Bible and you hear the stories of the Bible and stuff like that, like, go over there and go see the places where they, actually went, and what, the stories in the areas where they were." So that's a bucket list thing for me, for sure.
Yeah, and like over there, then I started taking Middle Eastern history as well, like.
Okay.
One of the Turkish instructors at University of Maryland over there. It was really interesting. I read the Quran, because I wanted to understand other religions as well.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's when I started getting more into that. But so, I mean, it was just an amazing place. Turkey was really cool.
Yeah.
After that, I went back to Vegas, for another 6 years. I mean, while in Turkey, I flew back and married a girl I met in Vegas. She was 10 years older than me. I was 23. She was 33. So I get married and bring her over to Turkey with me.
Hey,
doesn't hear, player.
I was about to say, I'm sure that you had every reason in the world to do that.
So what you're saying is, what happened in Vegas didn't stay in
Vegas, bro. No, it didn't. And I was married 13 years to her,
Yeah.
But I had no kids with her. I ended up actually having a vasectomy at 30 years old. She was older, so she was at 40, I was 30, and I was just like, well, I had 2 stepsons, and then I had grandkids at that time.
Oh.
So I started having a ready-made family, and it was, it was great. I mean, I was a grandpa by 30, So I mean, the 2 kids, when I met them, I was 23, and then one was 13 and one 14. So it was more, I was their friend, and I got to be a good mentor to them. I took them skiing, snowboarding, surfing.
Yeah.
I was just a fun friend, really. And unfortunately, things, things just happen in marriages and life. I made plenty of mistakes.
Sure.
And things happen for reasons. We ended up, so I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So Vegas, I was with her that whole time. We went to Turkey. She lived there with Turkey with me.
Oh, she came to Turkey with you?
Yeah.
Oh,
she
okay.
came to Turkey.
Right.
I'm saying it didn't stay in Vegas.
No. And then we came back to Vegas. So then we were in Vegas for another 6 years. And then that's when I was kind of going through I was planning on getting out of the military at that time. I was at like 7 years. I had an interview with UBS Financial. They were ready to hire me. And then the market crashed.
Ooh.
So, and then I was like, my wife at the time was going to nursing school. And I was like, well, I mean, this is the comfort, you know, this is where the methadone clinic of the military came in. You know, it was like, all right, no matter what, we have shelter. No matter what, we'll have food. You know, if you don't work, we'll still be taken care of while you're in nursing school, and we can make things happen. So I ended up re-enlisting again for, you know, just to help her through her career. And then I made a change at 12 years in my career to go into RPA operations. So that's when I got into, because I was an aircraft mechanic, and then I worked on RQ-1s and MQ-1s. And what those are the remotely piloted aircraft with weapon systems. And I saw what those guys were doing, but I couldn't ever actually see what they were doing because it was all top secret. You had to get all your clearances. And as an aircraft mechanic, we didn't have to have that.
Right.
So then I put in for retraining into that position, and I got accepted, and it was like a year and a half, 2-year school.
Wow, really?
Yeah. It was 6 months of flight training, and then learning the full weapon systems and learning all the tactics, procedures.
Oh, shit.
It was actually really cool. And what's cool about like that kind of school, everything you had to do was you had to have a 90 on every test. So when I told you I hated school, I was going to school more and more and more and more. But it was that was a really interesting career. I didn't even know. I kind of knew what I was getting into. Like, you know, you spy on people, and you from, you know, 25,000 feet in there and 6-mile range, and you shoot missiles, and you drop hellfire, you know, drop 500-pound bombs on terrorist camps.
Some bad guys eating a bologna sandwich, and then all of a sudden, poof.
Dude, it's one
and
of
the ring around the bologna is still there.
Oh, bro, it
went through the bologna.
It was one of those jobs that you just, when I started doing it, you just didn't even realize what the heck you're doing.
Oh yeah.
You were like, it felt like Star Trek, you know,
or sure,
because we were flying these remotely piloted aircraft via satellite, you know, stateside, and flying them over in any area of responsibility. They call them AORs.
Oh yeah.
So we're flying them all over the world from a stateside location.
Yeah.
And it's just,
that's crazy.
It's crazy.
How much does one of those cost? The prisoners?
It's not the plane that costs. It's all the sensors. And all that kind of stuff.
The technology.
All that technology. Some of them,
yeah.
The plane might only cost a couple million, and then the technology is $30 million.
Oh yeah.
You know,
they're big, right? Like that. We're not talking about a little drone.
Oh, MQ-9s are a full up, like it's the size of an A-10.
That's crazy.
It's a jet engine. It's a full up jet engine.
Wow, that's crazy. So it's an aircraft.
Yeah.
Is that what was a movie with Jamie Foxx? Stealth.
Yeah.
It's like that. Like
and the cool thing is, I mean, you can be over a target for 28 hours.
Oh wow.
I mean, because the fuel's low, they're a glider. You know, it's kind of, and so with the targets that we looked at, because everything we did, I was Air Force Special Ops. So everything we worked on was, it was all black ops. Everything was presidential and SecDef targets, and doing all that kind of stuff. It was, you're watching these guys for 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah,
you're watching them play soccer with their kids. You're watching them pick up their buddies. You're watching them pick up explosives. You're watching them. You know, you're watching everything they're doing.
You get to know them almost.
You get to know them, and then you get to kill them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, as soon as, and the thing is, war sucks, and, you know, collateral damage is real. And there's people that make those decisions on, you know, whose life's worth taking and taking out other people.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's the bad part of the job. You know, helping the guys on the ground is the most rewarding. Yeah. You know, like if they're getting shot at or anything like that, when we're the air support for those guys, that's huge.
Oh yeah, I bet that's,
you know, that's when you get like
It's like being a sniper.
Delta or those guys telling you, Don, thanks. You know, you guys were instrumental in our like bringing us home. You know, that like still gives me goosebumps, man.
Oh, I can imagine because it's real.
It's real, man. It's real. And, you know, when you're doing operations, and because that's where like clear, concise communication is key, because people die if you don't in that kind of world. Like everything we did, working with the best of the world, all the top teams. I mean, that's what we did. We worked with all the best of the best, and those guys it's serious business. And I mean, you're talking about these guys that are the top terrorists in the world. Some of them are educated here, MIT, Harvard, Yale. Yeah, the list goes on.
Oh, for sure.
And you know, they're over there doing, you know, I mean, creating weapons of mass destruction, or you know, there's a lot of stuff that those guys do, all over. And you know, we're flying this thing, watching these guys, and it's a pretty, and the thing is, we're stateside. So then after we're done with that, we go home to our families. Yeah. You know, we just took out a terrorist camp, killed 50 people, and then we're going, you know, we take shots.
How was your day, honey?
Yeah, right? Then we got hamburger helper and macaroni and cheese.
And honestly, it was like every day like that. What was kind of cool, like, I remember one of my first targets, because in our unit, what was kind of cool is they had, so we were the Griffins. That was and so we had a patch of them for our unit, and only the guys who've killed, we give them a red patch. The eye's red. So it's incognito that you're a killer.
Okay.
So, you know, it's a club. You know, it's like it's the boys club there that now you're part of us.
It's like getting a sticker on your helmet for football.
Yeah,
right?
Like no, honestly, it was because, and then you go. I mean, we all tally up who had so many kills, and it's a different world. Yeah, like I talk about it with some people, like my civilian friends. They're like, what the? Yeah, like they can't even. And I'm like, that was our talk every like to just vent with our other brothers that we know their security clearance. They know. Yeah.
That was your norm, right? I mean,
that was the norm.
Yeah, it was your norm, you know.
That was the norm. And just, I mean, you see some sick shit. I mean, I've seen, you know, these terrorists raping women. I've seen them fucking goats. I've seen them.
That shit was real.
Oh, they do, man. It's real, and it's
and it's weird.
It's so weird. I seen beheadings. One of the worst was an informant was on the ground. Our human intelligence, and we know that this is the bad. Like he gave us the signal that is the bad guy. Well, they pull that dude.
Something like this.
Like, no, it was like, you know, like a color scarf or, you know, something like that. Because even from that far away, I mean, we're 6-7 miles away, you can almost get facial recognition. So
wow,
I mean, everything we did was HD, you know.
And they don't even know the thing's there. Like there's no way to tell.
No, there's
6 miles away.
Yeah,
there is no way to hear. Like that's a slant range, 6 miles. But I mean, we're 25 to 30,000 feet.
Oh yeah.
And just they're not going to hear you. They don't see you. And we watching this guy, and then they took him out of town, and they just blasted him with an AK. Probably put like, I don't know, 50 rounds in him, and then they cut off his head, and then they were walking him through the town, like holding his head, and you can see the blood dripping and stuff. Yeah. It was, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we were seeing.
I saw a video of a guy, because I worked with a guy that was a civilian contractor over there as an electrician, and had some stuff from over there, and he was showing us, you know, and I've never seen anything that graphic in my life, like ever. And I watched it and was not like, you know, you think about it like something like that being done to somebody, and you're just like, you know, but I guess this guy was a I don't know what the guy's, profession was or whatever, but they had the bag over his head and just, literally sawed it off while he was alive. And it was like, that shit stains you, dude. Like, and there's a part of it that's like, for me, like I had so much rage when I was watching that, and the guys that were standing behind him doing it, that just wanted to like I would drop kick each one of you in your face and then shoot you. I don't know. I guess for me, the way that I would justify anything that has to be done and not have any remorse for it is by, if I don't do this, then there's going to be a lot of good people that lose their lives. Like the old adage, the only thing for evil, to win is for good to do nothing, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
You got to take action, whether it's a bad thing or not. Sometimes that dark side of you is a good thing,
Oh, it is, man. And
here's the deal. Like, I want to stop on this for a second because, obviously with our movement, we're building influential men, and that's our whole premise. That's been our passion since day one. And I think in our society in America, and Don, you've seen both sides of this. You've been around the country, around the world, and been in the civilian world and military world, and we've obviously watered things down, to say the least, in the U.S. And there's this whole imaginary utopia that everybody could just why can't we just love each other and hug on each other? And listen, dude, I'm all about it. I'd much rather love on people than kill them. But the fact of the matter is, evil is real. It is out there. And the more that we weaken our men as a society, and the more that we pussify our men as a society, the easier target we are. And we can hide from it, and we can say that it's not real, that doesn't exist, all we want to. But the fact of the matter is, there is evil, and it's not just overseas. It's not just in other countries. Now, it's probably more prevalent in some areas than others, but there's some right in our backyard too. There's some evil shit that goes on. And if we're not prepared as men to preside over our family, protect our family, then we're missing it, man. We're missing it. And we may not be dropping bombs on 50 people at a time, but if a motherfucker walks through my door, I better be ready to take his ass out. That's kind of the point I want to make. There is, like, we have to come to grips with the fact that shit is there and it's real, and it doesn't mean we have to worry about it all the time, or rack our brains about it all the time. We just need to understand that there is a side of us as men. There's a requirement, I believe, to be a protector for our family and for our community. Whatever that means. Luckily we don't see it in a lot of areas in our country on a day-to-day basis. We can go a long time without and just feel like, man, everything's hunky-dory. But the truth is, right on the other side of the tracks, it wasn't hunky-dory last night.
No.
Jordan Peterson talks about that. I don't know if you follow any of Jordan Peterson's stuff. It's really, really good. He's a psychologist, but he was talking about how men being weak is the most dangerous thing that we could possibly do. Men should be extremely dangerous. Like, you should be as dangerous as you can possibly be, and keep it under control. That's where like valor and things of that nature come from, is being able to take somebody's life at any given time, but having it under control. Because when good men take on this utopia, like what Cameron's talking about, like this whole everybody should be equal. It shouldn't be equal opportunity. It should be equal outcome. Everybody should be the same. Everybody should love each other. Nobody should have guns. Nobody should have any of this stuff. And plenty of leaders and really influential leaders have made comments about this. I can't remember which one it was. Which president was? He said, peace is being the man with a bigger stick. When a good man has a bigger stick, that's when you have peace. When good men are more dangerous than bad men, that's when you have peace, because bad men take their place. When good men sit back and become weak, bad men take over. That's when bad shit happens, and it's going to happen. And that's the thing, that's one of the big things. And I think that, what you're doing, and I know we stopped a story here, but what you're doing and what you're trying to do and what you want to do, with veterans and things of that nature, is take very dangerous men and teach them how to control that. Teach them how to control that mentally, where you can come back into society and you can be dangerous when needed, but you don't have to be, kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's freaking awesome.
Really what I really want to do is, veterans come through that they've seen it, been there, done that, been all over the world. You know, when you go through stuff like that, like what I've done or what some other guys have done, and then you come back and try to transition into normal civilian life, it's difficult. It's a lot more difficult than I thought. When I was a little bit back, so at 18 and a half years in the Air Force, I was going through divorce. I think my PTSD was kicking in, but I didn't even realize it at the time. I think I was having more nightmares and just kind of probably a little more irritated and just not the best person. Didn't really care about much. And so then I was going through divorce. I made huge mistakes in that. Was unfaithful, learned, I just made those mistakes, and that marriage crumbled. I was going through that turmoil, it was okay. So then when I was after my divorce, I was kind of just didn't know what I really wanted to do next, or I lost my family. I had a vasectomy at 30. I had a ready-made family, and I thought, man, that's my family. And then when I lost everything, I just kind of thought I was going to be a rebel without a cause, really.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that for a while. I even told I knew some really bad motorcycle guys and stuff like that. And I even told one of my buddies, he's like, if you do that, because he has kids, it's like, we won't be friends.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, I was just going through those, like, I didn't have anybody. I didn't have any kids to, mentor and develop in my life.
Yeah. And
so I was going through a very, very hard time. And I made some mistakes. Got addicted. My military career, I mean, it was flawless. I was very highly decorated. I had, I was a great airman. I was moving up the ranks really fast. And then I made a mistake on a weekend, did drugs, and then I got court-martialed. But then during my court, and then it was like a little bit of 18 and a half. It was what was it? I think it was like a 4-day weekend, and I was in Lubbock, Texas, and a guy had some blow. And I did it, made my mistake, and then they did a random drug test on the day right coming back.
Oh, shit.
And I had like 1/48th of a sugar packet per the toxicology, in my system. I probably could have, but you know what? This kind of things happen for reasons.
Oh, I agree. Yep, agree 100%.
And this kind of even just brought me back to reality at this point. So I was like, all right, I made a mistake. I'm gonna lose my career. I met my wife just recently. A new one. So
Oh, nice.
Then what's crazy is, before that all happened, I met her before I was going to Djibouti. I was getting ready to go to Africa for 4 months, and I was dropping my dog off in Phoenix to my parents, and met a girl. I was still separated at the time, and then I was going away, and we talked the whole time. As soon as I got back, what's crazy, this is what's freaking how the world is kind of a vortex. So we got back, we went snowboarding in Colorado. We had a great time. We came to Nashville. We didn't even live here yet. And my daughter was conceived at the Renaissance Hotel. I never had a reversal.
Wow.
And I tried to have the higher science stop me from procreating, and the higher power was like,
"Yep,
you need to procreate, man. you need somebody to change your life."
Yep.
And my girlfriend was pregnant. I was like, no way. I went to go get checked, and they said I had very little amount, but I guess they broke through after my deployment. I had Superman swimmers going through, we got to get. Oh man. And at that point, my life just instantly changed. I had a purpose.
Yeah.
thinking about that little girl and wanting to do everything I could to support her. But then when I was going through all that, losing my military career, my security clearance was suspended. Then, I had 20 letters of recommendations from high level guys that Don Hoff, his character, this was a one-time mistake. That's not me anyways. It's not something I want to do. I'm not an addict. Well, I am an addict. So I will say that because I am addicted to things. Like I'm addicted to work right now. I'm addicted to the gym.
Yeah.
I try to put my addiction into a positive.
Sure.
Because hell yeah, I can be addicted to women, drugs. I could be addicted to all the bad things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Gambling.
Yeah.
I have those demons.
Yep.
And
every man does.
Right?
Every man does, man. Every man does.
And but when you
Not me, man. I've never done any of that stuff, Josh.
Yeah, no, right?
You shut your mouth. I've drank with you late at night.
But like the biggest turning point in my life was at that court martial. My daughter's like 3 months old, and I'm up on. They did my they reduced my rank from Master Sergeant to Staff Sergeant E5. And so after that, at E5, you can't get to 20 years. So they didn't boot me at the time. They let me just finish my current enlistment. But the guy that got the colonel that I was at the new unit that was punishing me got up there on the stand. I have it on the transcript. Yeah, I'll never forget the guy's name, Michael Shreves. He got up there and said, Don Hoff cannot be rehabilitated into society.
Sometimes it's what you need to hear.
And when I honestly cried when somebody, I did. And my wife was crying. It was a horrible, horrible experience. When somebody tells you that, I can only imagine if I wasn't an older, mature guy and he said that to a young 22-year-old, 21 that made one mistake.
Yeah.
That he's a piece of shit and then he cannot be back into society. So you're going to court martial him, dishonorable discharge, and you're going to try to make his life miserable. Well, they tried to make mine. He said that to me, and I went home that night. Me and my wife were laying there. My buddy flew in from Arizona to come to it because I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell anyone. I was so embarrassed.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It was embarrassing, man. I put a lot of time in there, and I really served my country well, but I made a mistake.
Yep.
And I paid for it. That's fine. I deserve, I understand the consequences of things. And I made it. And I lied in my bed, after I made that, that's fine. But that just really hit me so hard that me and my wife were laying there and she's like, we're going to turn this one day, this negative right here, into a positive.
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, fuck yeah, we are. We are really. And at that point,
Megan says that, man, that's empowering for sure.
Oh, I just remember laying there, man, and I was like, feel like my life's over, kind of thing. But then I was like, I have a baby. I need to provide for that girl, and nothing's gonna fucking stop.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got to that mindset, there's no stopping me. I'm a savage, and once I get my mind clear and moving forward, I know I can do anything.
Oh yeah.
So shit, it was a rough road, man. But that's like when those dark times, really just like you feel like suicide or you feel like, and I'm like, shit, that would be an easy way out, but that's unfair to my little girl. That's unfair to, I get like a little emotional with this stuff too, right here, because this is
cool, man. That's no, feel free. That's it. No, hey, man, listen, this podcast from the very beginning, and we've talked about this from the very beginning. We're always going to be true to ourselves, and we're always going to be raw and give it like it is. We don't polish shit up. Like ultimately, the people that listen to this listen to it because they want to hear real shit. They don't want to hear somebody that's, like we talk about. If you want fluff, there's tons of that shit out on the internet. You can go find somebody that rented a Lamborghini and hired some really good looking chick to sit next to him so it looks like his life is perfect. But that's all bullshit. You know, everything that we're talking about now is, and ultimately it's because our goal is to impact other men. That's what our goal is. Our goal isn't to look good. Our goal is to have other men, because I guarantee, and if there's one guy that listened to this and went, I lost my identity, I don't know who the hell I am, I've been told by people that I respect at the utmost that I'll never amount to anything and stuff, and I'm just in a hole, and they listen to that and go, now wait a minute. I mean, that dude was in a hole. And now, you know, and you haven't even got to the victory part of it yet, you know, where you're at and stuff like that. But don't worry about it, man. Don't hold back. Like anything that you need to say, you know, we've said a lot on here about ourselves as well. So,
and I'll tell you, it is so empowering, and it's such a freeing feeling, because I was so embarrassed for such a long time, and I never told anyone. You know, I was embarrassed to my parents. I was my friends, and just even people I only told like one of my buddies that I just knew that, you know, he didn't judge me no matter what. And then when I did tell my dad, my dad doesn't judge me. My dad went through some shit. He went through some real like real bad stuff. And
on to your point, sorry.
Yeah. No, Cam, go ahead, man.
To your point on that, I'm reading. We've had some recent connections with some great dudes that have been on the show, and that has led me to reading the Warrior book from Garrett J. White, which you may be familiar with. And one of the things he talks about in there, he says, the most powerful dude in the room is the one that has nothing to hide. And dude, that hit me right between the eyes. I'm like, when you can be completely fucking honest and you have nothing to hide, there is a lot of power and freedom behind that, like what you were talking about.
Oh, it's the best feeling in the world. And that's how, like with my wife, I tell her everything. Every mistake I did, everything I've done, and that's my ride or die. Because, man, it is freeing. She knows who I am, what I am, and she loves me dearly. And she's been through it with me. Like at this darkest time, she was there, and she supported me all the way to what we're doing today, man. And it's.
That's the thing. That's the thing with society and men, and we've talked about this plenty before. You know, men feel this pressure from society to hold everything in. You know, you got to have everything figured out as a guy. You know, you got to be on point and not making mistakes. And if you do, you can't admit them because you're weak or whatever. But all that does is makes you a prisoner to your guilt, right? Like you get locked up by the guilt and stuff. And that's why men need other men. That's why, you know, some of these programs and stuff that you see out there, and I don't care which one it is. And that's one of the reasons that, you know, the Men Reforged program was created, was because like I'm an imperfect human. I've got a dark past of things that I've done. I know Cameron's got a dark past and some things that he's done as well. But that doesn't define who we are. That defines the process of becoming who we are today. You know, and then another thing you said that's really cool is, you know, finding, like, every great man has a really strong woman behind him. You know, and it would have been really easy, I'm sure, for your wife now to be like, oh, shit, too much drama, I'm out.
Yeah,
I can't. No, I ain't doing that. But instead, she dug in and she went, we're going to fix this shit. And when you were in some of your darkest times, she was some of your biggest strength. You know, she was like, no, Don, that's not you. That's not who you are. We're going to turn this into a badass story.
Yeah.
That's cool as hell, dude. I love that.
Yeah, and it was awesome, man. Like when she did that, when she supported me like that, I was, after that time when I knew I was getting out of the military and I wasn't going to get my pension anymore. So I lost my military pension completely. And so I left at 19 years and 2 months. You know, 10 more months I would have my pension, but hey, life, you know, figure it out.
Yep.
And we didn't know where we wanted to go yet. We were looking at, she's from Scottsdale, Arizona, and so we were looking at, hey, let's go retire and let's go to Scottsdale. San Diego. I was looking at Chicago, but then my brother's been in Nashville. He was in Nashville for 7 years at the time. He moved. His company moved him. He worked for HCA as a software developer, and they moved him from Chicago down here, and he lives in Mount Juliet.
Oh.
And I was just like, you know, let's take. I have no job now. I have nothing, and let's take a chance and move to Nashville. So we picked a a house in downtown Franklin and no job. And I don't know how we did it, but we made it work. My wife still had a job, and we went down there and my wife fell in love with it. I was applying for jobs for like, it was like 4.5 months or like 6 months around the time. And it was just, I mean, I went on like 100 interviews, and I had a 4-month interview with HCA because my brother worked there, and I thought I was going to get like an IT project management position. I was doing my PMP and all that. And my wife's a software project manager. So she's like, you do not want to be a project. She's like, that is not you. Why don't you get into sales? And I like, hell yeah, let's do it. And so then I started looking into my real estate license, and I was going to do that. But then I saw a position for a loan officer assistant with Colton Mortgage. And once I applied on Indeed, and I saw him look at my LinkedIn. And so then I wrote him right away. It's a smaller company. And I just said, hey, I'm transitioning from the military. I have no industry experience because everybody said you need industry experience. And so I just said, hey, I have no industry experience. I'm a hard worker, fast learner, and I promise you won't be disappointed. That's what I sent. And he wrote me right away, and then set up a call. And then I went in, and he's like, Don, this job isn't for everyone. Sales, and as an assistant, you're not gonna make shit.
Yeah.
You're gonna be my kind of a bitch, making cold calls, right? And this is like a high school job kind of thing.
At least he was honest though.
Yeah, and he's like, but once you get licensed, and once you do this, and if you're good at it, it can be exponential.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, sign me up. Let's give it a shot. I was like, whatever. So I took the job. I mean, it was like $500 a week, and bonuses for deals. And it was cold calling. It was cold calling. It was a grind. I thought I was gonna get fired after a few months, because we had leads coming in on weekends, and I was at the lake with my family and doing all the fun stuff. I wanted to take my daughter to the lake, and he sent an email to me, and it's one I save, and because it's one of those that hit you. He's like, Don, I don't know what you think this job entails, but I mean, if you want to go work at a bank and work a 9-to-5 job and live an average life, make an average salary of 60 to 80,000, I know plenty of guys that do it, and they're fine, they're comfortable. But if you want to be a fucking rainmaker, this is what you need to do. This is a 24/7 job. And then I was like, that I think he knew how to hit me. Like, he knew what motivated me at the time, And I read that email to my wife. She's like, you better step up your game.
If you want to be average, this is not for you, bro.
And I've never been average. That's just not in my vocabulary.
No.
And he took a chance on me, and I started like first year. I was his assistant for 4 months, just trying to learn. And then he was just like, he really kicked me out of the office after I got licensed and said, go find business. It was just like that. It really was. And I was like, oh, okay, I just got to go meet people.
Yeah, I've been cold calling for 4 months. I got to find some people, I guess.
So I just got to go meet realtors and insurance and financial advisors and builders and just go out there. And so I went to every networking group I could for like 2 years. I mean, I was going to everything and setting up 5 to 6 meetings a day, just meeting new people.
Nice.
And it really didn't start paying off till like as soon as COVID hit. so during this time too, when I was the assistant, I started driving for Lyft and Uber because I thought it's the best way to work on my sales pitch. I was just like,
nice.
I was honestly like,
That's a good idea.
A 5-minute car ride, if I can get these people to like me and invite me to a wedding or birthday party, I'm in the right job.
Hey, that's one way to look at it for sure.
And so I got in there and I started doing that, and I even set up meetings as an assistant. Like, I wasn't even a licensed loan officer, but I was talking to all these guys. I was picking up CEOs, music producers, the list goes on of the people you meet in Nashville.
Oh,
like
sure.
driving Lyft and Uber. It was pretty awesome. And that was before COVID.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of, I got licensed and just, it just kind of
worked out pretty good for you.
It worked out really well. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I think that's a great story of kind of perseverance and kind of losing your way and then finding your way back and stuff like that. And I think some people lose their way and they just kind of spiral, out of control. And then they stay in that for so long that they start to identify, by that area of life, and that's why we're, and I know I can speak for Cam, we're huge proponents of mentorship. And having people in your life that'll tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, kind of thing. And sometimes it's hard to take that shit, because sometimes, like you said, I want to be on the lake. I want to be out there on the lake with my daughter and stuff like that. And then you have somebody that comes up and challenges you. And it's sometimes it's one thing for somebody to try to challenge you, but it's another thing for somebody to challenge you and know for a fact that they'll walk away. Like they don't need you. No. They'll walk away. And then you go, oh, shit. All right. I got it loud and clear. I love that, dude. I love the story. And personally, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people have not gotten to that point of maturity in their life where they can do that. And what's crazy and what's really cool is just sitting here with you. And I'm sure Cameron, you see this on the camera, but I could actually feel the roller coaster that your life went through while you were talking about it. Like, and that's what's cool, man. And, you'll forever have that story as a badge of honor, in my opinion, because, I'm sorry, but if you were fed by a silver spoon, nothing against you. If you grew up in a rich family and had your path done, your parents had a business and you just stepped in and took over and stuff like that, I'm not holding that against you, but that's a boring ass story, in my opinion.
Yeah, here's the deal, dude. You're right. And I mean, I hope that the guys and girls too that are listening to this are, specifically dudes. Obviously, that's who we kind of gear towards. But we have egos. We have big badass egos, and if you have that under control, that's awesome. But if your ego's controlling you, then you can be in a position like what Don was talking about, where the fact of the matter is you didn't have shit figured out. You were trying to figure it out. You were trying to do right, make good decisions, take care of your family, and do all those kinds of things, but not just temporarily, long term. And that recipe for you meant 4 months of just cold calling and making $500 a week, and then driving Uber and Lyft and doing a bunch of shit that a lot of dudes would let their ego get in the way of them doing. They'd be like, nope, I'm too good to do that. Yeah. I'm too good to cold call. I'm too good to have what should be a job for a 20-year-old kid. I'm too good to drive Lyft or whatever. The truth is you're not.
No.
You're not too good for it. The fact is you probably need to do it so you can learn from it and grow from it. And then if you have the resilience and if you have the consistency and if you have the testicular fortitude to go through that for a couple of years, maybe it's less or maybe it's more. Who knows? But if you stay faithful through it, then I don't know you that well, Don, but from everything I can tell at this point, financially, you're doing a lot better than $500 a week.
A lot better.
Yeah. So, but you had to go through that process to get there. And that's the thing that I hear when you're telling that story is like, there's no ego involved in it. I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision, but it was one that you knew you had to make and you did it. Yeah. And man, kudos to you, dude. That's awesome. And that's something that, and I'm not trying to tug on the, heartstrings here, although I don't even have a daughter. I have all boys. I can't even imagine. I'm an emotional wreck sometimes, Josh could tell you. And if I had a daughter, God knew, like, he can't handle that. But the fact is, you'll be able to tell your daughter that story, or somebody else you probably won't even tell her. Somebody else will tell your daughter that story. You'll sure hear it on this podcast or in your book or whatever. And she'll be like, that's my dad, and she'll be proud of it. And she'll know who to look for in a husband, which should be even more important to you. It's amazing, dude. Awesome.
Bro, that's like, my little daughter has just been God put her there for a reason.
No doubt.
I don't know where I'd be without her. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. They bring a lot of accountability, that's for sure.
That brought a lot of accountability, and after my divorce, I had to get a dog, because I needed accountability.
Yeah.
And my little one, and now it's the best when I just go home and she hears the garage door open, or, you know,
Heck yeah.
when you have kids and they love you, it's like that unconditional love. There's nothing like it. And I'm like, I'm the biggest softie to that little girl. Yeah. Like, she's not going to be afraid of anyone. That's the problem. Like, she's gonna like, you know.
I tamed this big ass lion. I ain't worried about you.
Right.
She has to be wrapped around, man.
That's right. That's cool though. I mean, and I agree. Like, there's a certain sense of love, you know, that you have for your children and stuff like that. Your creation that's it's hard to beat, you know, and you look at it and it's, you know, another level, you know. And I've got 4 of them. My last one was a little girl, and it was, you know, a little bit different. Finally having that little girl and stuff, and it's just you look at it and go, you never thought that you could love something this much, you know, like you never thought that you could have that much love towards something, and then you look at it and go, there's no fiber in my being that I would not sacrifice, you know, for them to live a good life, or to be, you know, ready to surpass anything that I've ever done in life, you know, and we talk about that all the time. Now, sometimes our brains skew that, and we create an entitlement trap within our children and stuff like that. And we talk about that as well. It's a whole nother lesson, but that love, you know, will drive you to do things that you never thought that you could. And there's no doubt whatsoever in my mind that God put her there for a reason. You know, especially the story with the vasectomy and everything else, you know, she's there for a reason. And between her and your wife now, you know, they pulled a good man out of a hole, and there's a reason that you came out of that hole. And it's not just to be a husband and a father. There's bigger plans for you, my friend. You know, and I think that you've got that kind of figured out. You know, and I think a lot of people will be impacted by not just your story, but what you're going to do in the future, you know, with what you have in you, man, because you've got exactly what it takes to make a huge impact on several men. I mean, especially, you know, people from the military and veterans that have come back and that are struggling and stuff like that. And we need that shit. There's no doubt in my mind, you know, there's a special place in my heart for veterans that struggle, you know, and I'm not big on making excuses, but the reality is that there's still problems, you know. So I think that's awesome, dude. And I think that, you know, you're certainly here for a reason. I appreciate you sharing all that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And I am looking for the bigger things now. You know, once I've got myself taken care of, I know I can help a lot of other people.
Yep.
And being in that position is like, it's so empowering. It's like weight lifted off my shoulders, sure, knowing how many people I can help. I've just sharing stories on my Instagram or anything like that. Yeah. And some of my buddies reaching out, or Don, how did you, you know, what are you doing? How I went through this, you know, I went to depression, anxiety, multiple divorces, guys that I even like were in the military with like 15 years ago and I haven't even seen, you know, are telling me how I'm, you know, motivating them.
Yeah.
And just if I did it, I thought just if I like post a story and it helped one person, I thought that was amazing.
Yep.
But now I really know how many lives I can change. And that's where, you know, my goal in the next few months is really to get the Hoff House Foundation up and running. And I want to help transitioning veterans, you know, learn those entrepreneurial skills, give them the resources, give them the networks, give them all the tools and all the tools necessary to give them another opportunity when they get out. They don't have to. They were a cop while they were in. They don't have to be a cop.
Yeah.
There's so many other things that they can do. I mean, it's endless opportunities, and putting people in the right network when they're hungry, amazing things happen.
Oh, 100%.
So I'm excited. There's a lot of great people that want to help. It's just it's going to get bigger and better. I feel like there's a Hoff House movement coming. Oh, sure. And that's what I want.
Well, we'll do whatever we can for sure, you know, to push that. And as you get that up and rolling, you know, obviously we'll be in contact and stuff. But you know, you push that to us, and we'll do everything that we can, you know, to feed that movement for you, and do all that we can to kind of help out anywhere, for sure, man. Because I mean, I mean it. I think your story is really cool. You know, there's parts of it that people be like, how can you say that's cool that happened? But it all happened for a reason, and you're in a better place today
Man.
because of it. And there's,
And what's one of the craziest things? If I wouldn't have done anything and I would have stayed in, I had an assignment to go back to Vegas, which with my new wife and daughter, which Vegas isn't the best place to raise a family. It's not where there's all the temptations in the world I'd probably have been divorced again. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And I would have probably taken a government contract job, been gone 6 months out of the year. I'd probably have to get my wife a boyfriend or something because, I'd have to, serious.
Right, yeah.
I'm needy too, and I know she is. So,
That's funny.
And so things happen.
How do they sell those?
Right?
You looking for a boyfriend?
Yeah, pool boy or whatever, right?
Gosh, they got those on Amazon.
Yeah, they're pool boys.
The pool boys, right?
Oh, cool.
They actually do sell home services.
Yeah, I bet they do.
It's the handymans that come around. So
they still deliver milk.
Right? But it was one of those things that just, that would have took me in the normal direction as like RPA guy.
Yeah.
Hey, go deploy over 6 months, away from your family, come back. Yeah, you make good money, but I wouldn't have the time that I've had with my daughter and develop her in these most critical times and make her the badass that I'm going to make her.
Yeah.
So, I love being a girl dad. It's the best thing in the world. And, I'm just ready to crush it with her. I want her. I want her to experience the world. I want to,
yeah, hell yeah,
know everything.
Create high expectations for the next guy that steps in, right?
Oh, I am. I'm setting it up, man. I'm like, this girl doesn't know anything but beachfront,
Right.
4 or 5-star hotels.
There you go. There you go.
We went to Arizona. We got a conjoining room, and we're just like, well, we'll have another room for her, just for
let her have her own spot. She's gonna be ruined. Ain't nobody gonna be able to. Well, my daddy.
And we take her to Michelin star restaurants, and she's cheersing, and she's 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
And we're just, she doesn't know anything better.
Yeah, right. Hell yeah.
Applebee's ain't gonna cut it.
No, she will not. We don't need that at Applebee's.
It's not a fancy like Applebee's thing.
That's all we had in Clovis. So I promise, like Clovis, New Mexico.
Yeah.
I promise you, we don't eat Applebee's.
We promise we will not eat Applebee's, and we will not eat Buffalo Wild Wings because it was there.
B-dub.
Yeah.
B-dubs and Buffalo and Chili's and Applebee's. Those were the restaurants there, and my wife
American
is like,
standards.
"We'll never go there again."
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah, man.
It's funny how your taste changes, doesn't it?
Oh man.
But,
yeah.
So there's a lot to unpack from that, and to be honest with you, I think you should listen to it a couple times because there's some really good nuggets in there from developing an identity to overcoming a lot of issues and controversy within your life to turn around and owning your problems, to being ashamed of what you did, to turning that around, to using it as fuel to your fire. And to when you're going through shit, keep going. If you stop, you're just gonna be covered in shit. So there's a lot to unpack on that, and I think if you listen to it 2 or 3 times, it'll resonate with wherever you're at in life. And there's a lot of lessons to be learned from that, for sure. So I mean, it's awesome hearing other people's stories, and it's so impactful. Cam, what you got? Anything before we close up?
Yeah, dude. Don, just thanks for being on the show, man. It's awesome. Obviously, the connection through our producer and great friend. I'm glad it happened, and I know there's going to be a lot of other great things that come from this. As our movement continues to grow, and what you're doing with the Hoff House, and however it all comes together. I don't know. You don't know, but there's something there, and we'd be proud to be a part of it, and we're proud to have you a part of what we're doing. Just love aligning ourselves with other dudes that are excited about being better dudes and being influential in their families, number one, and then number 2 in their communities. So thanks, brother. Appreciate you being on. Appreciate you being transparent and honest with your story too, because that matters a ton. So,
well, man, I appreciate it, gentlemen. This is definitely an honor to be here to share. And man, I'm looking forward to seeing some great things out of all of us here. So
yeah, for sure. Once
yeah.
you get everything kicked up and stuff like that, we'll have to check out the Hoff House, have you back up here and talk about everything.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to happen fast too. So
Yeah.
I'm full throttle right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right away. One of the hardest things, you got to find that network. You got to find there's a lot of, social media is amazing nowadays. And to be able to just find a network of your veterans and guys that are, entrepreneur, that are doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Find those guys, talk to them, set up meetings. Anybody hit me up anytime. You can on my Instagram, on my Facebook. And I'd be more than willing to sit down with you, talk to you, spend some time. And that's what it's about right there. When somebody's in a hard time, sometimes all they need is somebody to listen. And that's a powerful thing, to listen to somebody and then just kind of giving them a little bit of direction.
Yep.
And that's one of the biggest things. Like, find the people that are doing what you want to do, because they're out there and they're willing to help you, and if they're not, they're assholes, and get away from them and find the right people.
Yep.
Yeah, you can find me on Don Hoff the Lender on my Instagram and Don Hoff on Facebook. That's those are the ones I have right now. I honestly got into social media just not long ago, and I'm getting YouTube and all that kind of stuff getting spun up too. So but that's where you find me now, and there's more to come, guys.
Yeah. No, it's great advice. No, for sure. And that's a great way to close it out too. And appreciate the question there from our producer. So if you didn't hear it, he was asking about what advice would you give, to a veteran or somebody coming out of the military, or somebody that feels like they're stuck in a rut, kind of similar to yours. What advice would you give? And I think networking is great. And don't listen to the bullshit lie that you're telling yourself that if you have to have other men and talk to other men, you're weak. Because that's bullshit. Ultimately hiding it is weak, and you're just going to destroy yourself by doing it. So that's, obviously networks of men can do great things. A group or a team is always greater than the sum of its parts. 5 men can do far more than the sum of those 5 guys. There's a lot of benefit to that. So once again, appreciate you being in the office for sure, man. Loved hearing your story. Go check him out on his social media platforms and stuff like that. Cameron just gave a virtual fist bump or handshake and stuff. Guys, go check us out on our social media platforms. Share this with somebody else. This could help somebody else. We don't charge anything for this. Obviously, we want to get the content out there because we truly care about impacting people, specifically men, and making a change in society. Be a part of the movement.